channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I'm going to talk to you about relationships again with a twist, because everything that I know about relationships in the Philippines, I learned from an 18-year-old woman, believe it or not. But thank you again for stopping by. So many choices, so many other vloggers over here you could be watching, but you're taking the time to watch my video, and I really appreciate that. I never take that for granted. You know, I met Wing, which is her nickname, but I won't give her real name. In late May of 2009, I was on my second trip to the Philippines. Coming home from my first trip, I was with a 41-year-old woman. She had her own photography business. She was quite successful. She never really taught me anything about the Philippines. We stayed in Mactan the whole 2 weeks. But she said something that stayed with me. She said most foreigners that come over here, they date young women, not old women like me. And I found that interesting, so I went home. I got back online, because remember, this is only the second time I had ever been on an online dating site. I was naive about it. I knew nothing. I was fresh out of a 18-year-old marriage. The last 2 years was as bad as they could possibly be. And I ended up clicking on a profile, beautiful lady, 22 years old. We started chatting. And over the next 6 months, she taught me everything I know about relationships in the Philippines. Some of this stuff you've heard before, but I want you to know where I got it. I got it from Wing. The first thing she taught me was the whole family's in on it. And these women are chatting with us and dating us. The family knows. They know her intent. They know whether or not she's dating a foreigner. They know the whole deal. It's not a secret. And the reason I say this is because her mother was sitting right next to her the first time we chatted. And see, hindsight is always 20/20. Hey, Ron Buntag. Hindsight is 20/20, and I really didn't think a whole lot about it. Her mother sitting right next to her. Imagine that. We're on that old Yahoo, was it Yahoo Messenger? And she's talking to me as if her mother's not even there. And the very first thing that we talked about, believe it or not, here's something else I learned from her, was pay to play. She asked me right away, she says, hey, you know, my mother's here sitting here. She's got a UTI infection. She needs 5,000 pesos to go to the doctor. Remember, I'm naive. I don't know anything. This is why I tell you guys, you know, don't send any money. Of course, you know, I feel sorry for her, and at the same time, I'm infatuated with her daughter. So I send the 5,000. I finally make it over here. And I land and get my luggage, man. I go out to the terminal door and I look out there, and there she is. She looked 100 times better than what she did online. She looked so good that I was afraid to go out there. Yeah, I was a 45-year-old man. I was afraid to go out there. She had her hair braided. She had 2 big braids on, one on each side that came down into a ponytail. She had on this halter top and these little bitty skinny jeans. And I mean, she was probably the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen up to that time. But I said, well, hell, you done came all the way over here. You better get your ass out there. I went out there, man, and it started a whirlwind 6-month relationship. Back to that pay to play, or the unspoken agreement, or the girlfriend experience, whatever you want to call it. She taught me about that. Because she met me at the airport. See, the 41-year-old didn't meet me at the airport. And this young lady treated me as if we'd known each other for 10 years, our whole lives. And there was no reason for me to think that she was anything other than 22 years old. That's another thing I learned, man. You don't know their age. You can't look at a Filipina and tell her age. So if you aren't sure, you need to look at the birth certificate. But we made love, man, and it was the best that I had ever had. Remember, I'm a one-man woman. I was married for 18 years. I never fooled around on my wife. So that's another thing that I learned. You know, just how beautiful on the inside and the outside Filipinas can be. And how easy it is to fall in love with a stranger. I didn't know this young lady, but I tell you what, I was sprung after that first day together. My nose was wide open. There was nothing I wouldn't have done for her. And this is why I tell guys to slow down. And while I'm saying that, none of you guys are listening to me. Not that I care, really. You're grown men, you can do what you want. Everything that I try to suggest for you guys not to do, you get over here and you do. You get right into these relationships. You have them meet you at the airport. It don't work out. You got enemies over here already. Or you're a lot more thirsty than you're letting on. When I had the young ladies from True on my channel, man, you guys acted a damn fool. I couldn't believe it. Some of you guys who talk all of that stuff were reduced to a bunch of thirsty clowns. I'm not even gonna say no names, man. But I'm like, damn, I've been talking to you guys for 2 years, and these women are just cutting through you like a hot knife to butter. But anyway, try to slow down. Because it was the first time that I fell in love in the Philippines. Yeah, I fell in love with this woman. And I had my heart broke at the same time, because later on down the line, I learned that she was not 22, she was 18. And it kind of brings me to the next thing that I learned. She taught me how to vet a Filipina. If you want to know anything about a Filipina, all you have to do is go around her friends and family. They're going to tell you. There's no need to spend a lot of money on some private detective. I don't know why guys ask me that. Who started that? You're not going to learn anything. A private detective's not going to learn anything about a Filipino over here. When you can get it for free from her friends and family. It was her best friend who told me she was 18. Because I would have never known, and I didn't even care. But when she told me she was 18, the whole game changed. I just felt so dirty. And I'm not a saint, man. Remember, I was with this young lady for 6 months before I found out. But just knowing that she was 18, man, just, I just felt it wasn't right, man. I had to break it off, and it really affected me, because I would have married her. Matter of fact, we got engaged over here and went through the whole little ceremony, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, if you want to vet them, man, don't hire no expensive or some fancy private investigator. Just take her around friends and family. You'll learn that the first time you're here. I've had other friends tell me the same thing. One of my good friends I met over here in her area. The first one I ever met in the Philippines. His name was Kurt. And I'll just tell you that. He said that his wife, who's with now, he was dating her cousin. And he was sending the cousin money, building a house. And the wife told him, said, hey, that money you're sending, she's giving it to a Filipino boyfriend. See, she vetted the girl for Kurt. They've been married, I guess, about 15 years now. Something like that. But anyway, I learned how to vet a Filipino. Something else, since I was talking about, we had that ceremony. She took me to the province. She taught me about the province and province life. It's the first time I'd ever knew about the province over here. Nobody ever told me. I didn't know much about the Philippines. And it was a culture shock. I mean, it really was a culture shock, man. It was a beautiful place, Luwigan. It's right in northern Mindanao. It's a barangay of Bislic City. It's along this beautiful white sand beach. And they were fishermen. Everybody there just about were fishermen. They built their own boats and everything like that. They go out every night. And they lived in a row of plywood boxes, really, is what it was. And I used the dipper for the first time in Luwigan. That's the dipper in the bucket, and I'm outside. Stripped down to my boxer shorts, so I was naked all the way into my boxer shorts. You had to keep those on, but it was a culture shock. I had to sleep under a mosquito net. We had to go to bed, early, because if you didn't get under that mosquito net at a certain time, they tore you up. It was life-threatening. But yeah, she taught me about province life, and I was really shocked. I saw a lot of things over here for the first time that really took me back, man. I saw a lot of houses in different stages of construction for the first time. Now, I see it all the time now because of the Filipino mortgage. I know what that is, but I didn't know what that was at the time. People washing dishes with cold water. I never saw any of that stuff before. But she taught me about province life. And that's a good thing, really. Luwigan is one of the most beautiful places. It's grown now. They've got resorts there now. In 2009, there were no resorts. Something else was she took me to heaven for the first time in the Philippines. It was the first time I went to heaven in the Philippines. I've been to heaven a few times, but she took me the first time, and I'll never forget it because we were together when Michael Jackson died. I told you guys before, good morning, that me and Michael Jackson, we went to heaven together. But yeah, she took me to heaven, man, for the first time, and she showed me that Filipinos will go to any lengths to please their man, to hold on to their man. A few things she showed me there. She showed me the value of foreign men over here. Once they get a good one and they've chosen you, nothing they won't do. Now, are they submissive? I'll say they're submissive with a lowercase s, but they're not submissive like we think they are. There's something behind that submissiveness, guys, okay? But her devotion is unmatched. I've just never experienced it before. There's just nothing that they won't do. And a lot of guys can bear witness to that. But this young lady, turned out to be 18, man, hindsight being 2020, man, when she was smart. She handled me like a veteran. So she taught me that Filipinos are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. She had already had 2 years of college anyhow. She was 18, but see, back then, you graduated high school 15 or 16 because there was no grade 7 or 8. You went straight from grade 6 to high school. So she was already 2 years college, and she eventually got her college degree. We're friends to this day. She's got 2 kids, 2 little boys now. She lives in Surigao. I sent her 5,000 pesos from Typhoon Odette. It really devastated their area. But yeah, they're a lot smarter. They only look naive. They seem naive, but they're not. There's a script, guys, that these women have over here, and they follow it all the way to the T. You think they don't know what they're doing. You think that they're naive and all, you know, they're from the islands and they don't know anything, but they do. And this young lady was only 18 years old, but she seemed like a veteran. She never let me see her sweat. And she was the one that said those magic words to me and flipped my brain upside down. She said, "You can do to me whatever you want." And I don't think I've ever heard those words again. I used to just love to hear her say it. I said, "Can you say that again?" But yeah, just about everything I know about dating and relationships over in the Philippines, I learned from an 18-year-old. Because when I got here, man, I was naive. I knew nothing about the Philippines at all. I got on a plane April 2009, came over here, stayed in Mactan for 2 weeks with a 41-year-old woman. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do a whole lot. She was beautiful and everything. But it was only when I met Wing did the Philippines start opening up. Did I really see what was over here? Remember, I tell you, I didn't come over to meet a woman, but yeah, after I got over here and I met her, all that changed. And it hurt my feelings, man, you know, to have to break it off with her, but I just didn't feel right. I had a 15-year-old daughter at the time. And 18 was just a little bit too young for me, but we got engaged, man. We had that ceremony in the province. I spent about 20,000 pesos, which was a lot of money then. I bought 2 lechons, all the fixings. I bought a big old tin of ice cream, which I never ordered. The guy just showed up with it, and I had to buy it. I mean, I'm in no man's land. I mean, Luigan is about as remote of a place in the Philippines I've ever been, probably in the world that I've ever been. There was no internet connection. There was no television signal. There was nothing. And at that time, it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the Philippines only had 2G technology at that time. So all the things that you hear me talk about, a lot of it came from her, came from my experiences with her. And let me say one more thing about the beauty. A lot of these women over here, they're so beautiful that they use their beauty, or their beauty literally lifts them out of poverty. Because I was there and I bought her father a fancy bottle of bourbon, and all his friends, they all sitting around, they're talking, laughing, stuff, looking at me. And I said, "What are they saying?" She said, they said, "You're lucky that your daughter's with a foreigner." And he said, "Well, you gotta have a beautiful daughter to be so lucky." This is what she told me. But yeah, guys, take it slow. And when you come over here, look, You're running on adrenaline. You're excited. It's your first time in the Philippines. Stay around the hotel. You guys aren't doing it. It's affecting your attitude, which is going to affect your relationships, which is going to affect your time over here. Make yourself stay at that Airbnb or hotel for the first 2 days. Thank me later. But y'all doing everything. I'm like, I thought these guys were soldiers. I thought they were so tough. I put them true ladies on my channel, and you guys went nuts. I was really surprised by how some of you guys act. And even though they're attractive, man, don't you know what's, hey, man, what's really waiting for you over here? Imagine they're 26, 29, 30, and 34. Imagine meeting an 18, 19, 20, 22, 25-year-old over here. So thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. If you're in America, it's late. Before you let your head hit the pillow, please find somebody to help. If you don't want them late grocery runs, beer runs, weed runs, just getting off second shift. Good morning. You're on your lunch break. You see somebody in the street. Buy them something to eat. Buy them something to drink. Give them a few dollars. If you're in the Philippines, it's early. It's not even 7:30 a.m. on a Friday. Tonight we'll have our 1,000 peso pandemic giveaway drawing. I'm actually give away 4. I'm going to spin the wheel 4 times tonight. Because I was traveling. I was in Dumaguete on Wednesday when we normally do our electronic community pantry giveaway. So I'm going to do 2 winners in San Carlos City and then 2 winners outside of San Carlos City. This is just our way helping struggling Filipinos during the pandemic and the lockdowns. Because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure. When we help other people, we help ourselves. Take care, stay safe, stay COVID free. I'll see you next time. Slow down, guys. You're going to be in big trouble over here. They got some beautiful women over here, and they're not as naive as you think they are. We're our biggest enemy.